Practice makes perfect by Neon Sangetsu, chapter 18. Just a little break. Wake not the sleeping dragon. Stir not the storm. Anger not the man who turns the other cheek. Lest you be utterly destroyed. A proverb. Just a little berserker. The rage burned. John could feel it in his veins, surging and seething, begging for release. Even now, he found himself swallowing it, choking on it, forcing it down. Before he lost control, he'd won, hadn't he? Neil lay on his feet, out cold, unable to muster even the most meager of resistance. He'd beaten her handily. More than that, he dominated her. She'd never stood a chance. She wasn't moving. That was a good thing, wasn't it? He raised the boot over her head, ready to bring it crashing down and end her life. Roman had hurt Ruby. Neil probably would have done much worse if he let her. This was what she deserved, what all of them deserved. Wait, cousin, we need her alive. He blinked, snapped out of his rage by a familiar voice. Penny. Memories pierced the red fog of his rage, and he craned his neck, squinting at the scarlet sparks that still snarling down his body. What are you doing here? It's dangerous. His words trailed off into a questioning tone as he saw her, because that was Penny over there, sweet, innocent, awkward Penny, presently tearing through the white fang like a bloody blender, twisting and spinning. She moved among them, more dancer than a real fighter. It was like watching Pyrrha. No, not Pyrrha, but different, all flowing grace in right in your face. The white fang didn't stand a chance. She cut through aura like it wasn't even there, lopping off limbs left and right, and caring for the casualties she left in her wake. Do not worry. She bounded backwards on her heels, ducked under a blade, then kicked its owner in half. I am combat ready. If he'd been contemplating murder on a whim, his cousin was clearly an outright psychopath. Oddly enough, the thought centered him. Nothing wrong with killing your enemies, right? But she was correct. They did need information. Neil would live for now. I'm gonna let her haul all the glory. Of course he wasn't. He took a deep breath, cracking his knuckles, let the anger go, and waded in. Neil was down in the dirt, and it looked like Roman would be joining her soon, very soon, if he had anything to say about it. Penny had the white fang grunts well in hand. Blake was keeping Torchwick occupied at the moment. It would be easy, effortless, even to sweep in behind him, and then Roman, in his infinite wisdom, went for Ruby's unconscious body. John's inner fire became so much ice. He grabbed the cargo container. Moments earlier, Roman didn't fight for a lost cause. There, he did it. Happy now. It was something of an unspoken rule for him these days. Or he who runs away lives to fight another day. That code was one of the three rules he honored. Indeed, they were what made him the gentleman thief of Ale, a creed he clung to since his earliest days on the street. He'd been small time back then, but even then there was a certain honor in what he did. 1, keep it clean. 2, don't take hostages or kill civilians. 3, never stick around for a fight if you were losing it. Good rules, simple and clear, easy to remember and easy to follow, or so they would have been before a certain burning bitch burrowed away in and took control of his little operation. Since she didn't care about casualties, she didn't care about collateral damage, and she didn't give a flying fuck about his honor. And what she did care about was dust, nothing more, nothing less. Now here he was, fighting for his life, losing, and still expecting to somehow sally on, making off with said dust, and with the win. Like hell, he grunted as Gamble tried to crack across his face, snapping his head to the side with an ugly crack of aura. Damn cat, when would she learn? A quick retaliatory swipe followed up by a 1-2-3 combo sent her sprawling, buying him precious time to backpedal. Melogic cudgel flicked out and blasted her from her feet, sending her flying. Neil was of no help at all. She was getting tossed around by a tall blonde and stupid over there, while this damn cat kept harassing him and ruining his coat. Meanwhile, those white fang grunts led to him by Adam. Grunts that were supposed to be useful were getting quite literally cut to pieces by that crazy green-eyed ginger bitch. I usually don't swear this much. Must be the stress. I need a damn smoker. At least Little Red's still out cold. An ugly thought struck him. Roman didn't like taking hostages. It broke his second rule. But between that or being sent to the slammer. He knew which he preferred. Little Red was still lying there over there, dazed from the round he'd fired at her earlier, and the fall that followed her probably concussed. It would be simple, easy. It wasn't like anything could get worse. Sweeping backwards, he stalked forward, stalked towards the unconscious Reaper. Nothing personal, Red, but I can't afford to fail here, so just stay asleep and... Wait, what was that noise? Needless to say, things got worse, much worse. Roman heard an odd whistling sound a split second before an entire cargo container of pure dust came crashing down between him and his would-be hostage. It landed so squarely between him and Little Red, would have crushed him flat if he'd been a step faster. The damn thing filled his vision with such speed that he actually ran headlong into it and blooded his nose. Which one of you stupid animals threw that? He whirled on the chaos fit to spit. You want this whole place to go up in smoke? As luck would have it, he had his answer, and instant later, John Ark barreled into him. John felt good, real good actually. Perhaps that was something of the understatement. His fire rage had all but evaporated, leaving icy, lethal calm in its wake. It felt like all his worries and fears and concern had been swept away like so many leaves in the wind. Even that once overwhelming rage had fled with the defeat of Roman and Neil, leaving him in a blissful state of euphoria. Why had he ever been so worried about that in the first place? About anything at all? Was he high, drunk on power? Maybe, but this didn't feel like that, He felt more centered somehow, whole, complete, at peace in a way he hadn't been in a long time. Sure, he didn't know how to change back at the moment, and he was still, sparky for lack of a better word, but he'd gotten stronger. That was good. Blake and Penny were staring at him. Where was the ruby coming to the out of the corner of his eye? But he didn't care. He had a single focus, a single target, a solitary objective. Roman had tried to take Ruby. You do not touch the Ruby. Ergo, Roman had to pay. His first punch sent Roman sprawling. The second caught him in the gut and lifting him from his feet, opening up to an uppercut that launched him backwards. Remarkably, the supposed smooth criminal found his feet swiftly, tumbled upright, and swerved aside from a kick that would have stomped his head in, only for another to crash his nose, or a flash with the sheer force of the blow, punctuated by a sickening crash that would have made him wince. Were he not feeling so calm? Whoa, hey! He reeled back, clutching his face. What's gotten into you, Beansprout? His fist drew back, a fist trailing sparks. Are you familiar with boxing? Roman squinted him. It goes a little like this. He whirled on him. Jab, left hook, uppercut, right hook, haymaker, roundhouse, shoryuken. He started laughing. Oh, jeez, I think I have a few screws loose, but he just couldn't help himself. Everything seemed so slow now. It was easier to move than ever, like he'd pushed through a wall that he hadn't even known was there. His fist seemed to be in three places at once. There wasn't a thing Roman could do to stop him. He was beating him bloody, and yet he felt so detached. Someone could shoot him in the face right now, and he'd take it with a smile. He wasn't sure he liked that feeling, but then even that sensation was swept away by the power coursing through him. That's what happens when you break your limiter, Kramer informed him. Want to run that by me again? Your rage broke, John. You're coming down from a high, and pretty soon you'll crash. Best to finish him. Still with this new form, he might actually have a chance against that. Might. The old fox emphasized the word. You're the first male Uzumaki in ages. They always were a little quirky, tossing your mother's genes, and well, you were bound to find your potential sooner or later. Heads up. Enough. Reality reasserted itself as a battered and beaten Roman thrust Midrashikoto at him with a snarl. John glimpsed an angry red light surging down the barrel a mere millisecond before the cane spattered an angry dust around at him. He slapped it aside within a second, without a second thought. From there, it careened off his palm, struck a nearby container, and belatedly, John remembered what was contained in said container. Dust. His eyes widened as the container bulged. Oh, that was really bad. Roman summed it up quite nicely. Oh, sure, it went up in flames, as did every container, even remotely near, behind, or close at all triggered at once by the single container going off. The result was nothing short as catastrophic. Penny and Blake leaped backwards as the explosion erased away for all the good it did them. Even Roman had the wherewithal to fling himself behind cover when all hell broke loose. Ruby got cold, could not. John didn't think, he just acted. Flinging himself in front of the blast with arms spread wide was hardly the smartest thing to do. He just couldn't think of anything else. The heat hit him a moment later, and it was scalding, burning away his high, an artificial calm that had come with it. Apparently several hundred tons of dust going off at once could actually hurt him. No, more than that, hurt. This was agony. Every fiber of his being cried out as his aura crackled, and his shirt smoldered away as a scream tore out of him. Blood vessels bursting in his eyes. The world went white. And yet, there was no pain. Baffled, he dared to open his eyes. Time had slowed to a crawl, but it hadn't stopped. He could still feel the fire licking against his skin, burning him beneath his aura. And yet, despite the color of the world bled down to black and white, gray, despite knowing he'd done the right thing, yet this all encompassing feeling of dread just wouldn't go away. Hands along his shoulder, light as morning mist. What's wrong, John? He couldn't quite help the yup that tore out of him as he whirled. Dad, not Uzumaki loved him. Well, he looked like shit. Was it really him? A vision of him? The idea he strove towards. He couldn't be sure, but couldn't be here. Not now. It just wasn't possible. No, wait. He could see through him, which might mean you're not dead, are you? Thunk him, ow, and an unseen blow thumped him upside the head, leaving him clutching his aching skull. His father arched around. Could I do that if I was dead? No. Here, how are you doing this? Long-range communication jutsu. The Archpatriarch winked and tapped a finger to his head with his uninjured arm. Burns through the chocolate like crazy, but it has its uses, provided you know where your target is. Now that I know where you are, it's pretty simple. He looked past him. Now what have we learned? An old familiar feeling welled up in him. It felt like failure, and it made his eyes sting. I messed up. Did you? John blinked. It feels like I did. His father found him. If you did, then I did. Otto, a hand settled on his head. It was surprisingly gentle. Listen to me, John. I know we had our differences in the past. That's not fault of yours. I'm the one to blame for that. But you have incredible power. You just don't realize it. You've learned to use your aura and chakra together in ways your sisters can't even imagine. Because at the end of the day, you're more than just my son. You're me when I was younger. You see a problem, something that needs fixing. You run right at it and to hell with the consequences. You smash down any obstacle in your way. Dad, so why are you hesitating now? A finger poked his chest. Is it fear, doubt, regret? None of those things. I can't answer that for you, but I can tell you this: if you don't fight with everything you have, sooner or later your friends are going to die. That Blade girl is going to die. Ruby is going to die. Pierre will die. Penny too. But right now, if you don't stop this explosion, you're going to die. Are you going to let that happen? Are you just going to give up after you've gotten give up after you? Are you going to fail? Are you going to fail? But aren't you angry with me? Not waved a hand. We'll have it out later. That's a separate thing. We need you to be alive for that, my silly son. Mom's coming to Vale too, isn't she? Her and your sister. So, what's your answer? John grit his teeth. He already knew it. He'd known all along. That's right. An almost boyish grin stretched across his father's face. You're better than that. You're better than them. You're better than me. You're my son. That hasn't changed. Even if I'm angry with you, just do what you always do. Face your problems head on. Run towards it. Full speed ahead. Grit your teeth. Plant your feet. And eat that horse. Yes, sir. Fire blasted into the air as the entire docks went up into a blaze, or they would have if he hadn't acted. John reached out with both hands, took a deep breath, and absorbed the explosion. It was the only thing he could think to do. He'd seen Dad do the same once with the blast of elemental fire, channeled it into his hands, pulled it into his lungs, and make hit his. He'd never managed himself capable of doing the same, but now he had to, because it was this or death. He took that impossible impossible force caught in his chest, compressed it between his heart and lungs, channeled the energy into his body, and held it there all around them. The blaze snuffed out, leaving scorched the ground in his wake as he struggled to breathe. Breathe, so much energy. Breathe. Was this what Dad felt like every day? Breathe. He compressed and folded and flattened all the energy for the dust explosion deep inside himself and buried it deep. Even then, he still felt antsy, like he had too much sugar spiked with caffeine, laced with at least 10 energy drinks. It was all he could do to just stay still. His armor was too hot. His shirt is searing his skin. He had to get it off. He tore the superheat metal off and cast it aside, followed by the shirt itself. Yet still, he felt just so damn warm. Ruby stood behind him, opening her eyes at last. John? The blurry silver orbs squinted at him. What did I miss? Just like that, he remembered why he was doing all this in the first place. Laughter tumbled out of him, and he dragged the Rosy Reaper into his arms without a second thought. Ruby froze almost immediately. He couldn't see her face over his shoulder, but judging by the sudden sputtering she made, he'd offered her somehow. Maybe she didn't like hugs. No, never mind. He was just so happy to see that she was all right. I'm sorry. He let her go, unable to hide his smile. I'm sorry. He let her go, unable to hide his smile. Shirt. She thrust a finger at him and scrambled back, a face redder than her nickname. What happened to your shirt? John looked down and finally noticed his toned chest exposed to the elements, burns and all, burns that were even now healing. Would you believe me if I said it was a long story? Yes. Penny alighted behind him and thrusted his flare as she descended. Impressive. Blake only landing up slightly less so, but he glimpsed all in her eyes all the same. John, just what the hell are you? Roman answered that question as he poked his head out from behind the scorched wall, coughing harshly covered in soot. A damn monster's what he is. Who eats an explosion? Who even does that? It stung. Those words hurt more than he cared to admit. John ran on him, teeth bared, body sparking. You want a monster? In all fairness, Roman tried to block his next punch. He really tried. Without Cuddle just wasn't up to the task. It bent, it broke. So did Roman's aura, then his face as the kid's fist thundered into Roman's jaw. Judging by the way he dropped, the man had something of a glass jaw. Was that it? After all this, he went down just like that. What's wrong? John dragged him to give him a shake, feeling vaguely disappointed. You're not done already, are you? Roman made broken Roman noises and glared hatefully at him. Rotten brat, you've ruined me. Dramatic much. I wasn't the one who shot Ruby. Speaking of which, apologize. The gangster mustered up his courage and spat at him. Like hell I will, said Courage shattered when he punched him. I said apologize. A groan. Not a share. Another punch. Sorry. Belatedly he realized something really was wrong with Roman's face. Beneath all that soot, the criminal's once handsome visage was a sullen mess from the pulmin he'd given him, barely recognizable as human. He was fairly certain the fire had taken the man's right eye, but he was alive, if only just still. He felt a tiny bit of pity at that. No one deserved to lose an eye, let alone get their faces scarred. He didn't like Roman, but he wasn't interested in making him suffer. A quick pulse of subtle healing chakra wouldn't do for Ruby and the others to see what he could really do, and then he'd be right as rain in a few hours, with no one the wiser. Had he realized how much that would change the course of history, or further enamor a certain mute girl towards him, he might have let him be. Good. A quick headbutt sent him to dreamland with Neil. That was for Ruby. Everything was right with the world. All was well. And then Penny opened her big mouth. Sensational. His self-proclaimed cousin clapped her hands and bounced in place. You fight well. No better than that. It seems I will not have to take you away after all. John choked. Everything rolled to a crushing halt. Blake's brow shot into her hair. Pardon, a joke. He clamped a hand over Penny's mouth. She's joking. His laughter sounded strained even to his own ears. Just ignore her. Hello, anxiety, my old friend. I've come to talk with you once again. Ruby latched onto his sleeve, steely eyes suspiciously damp. John, what did she mean by taking you back? Gee, leave it to Ruby to catch on quick. Blake was staring at him too. All eyes fell on him. He glared daggers at Penny. Penny blinked instantly. Was it something I said? Sirens well in the distance. It would prove to be a long evening. Ark was becoming an annoyance. Cindy took a long sip of wine from her glass, closed down her scroll, set it on the table, and exhaled. She honestly considered melting the damn thing for a moment. Much such was her fury, but no, that wouldn't do. No matter how satisfying that brief burst of violence would be, she knew Watts would not be able to supply her with another. She must remain firm, focused, furious. The glass shattered in her hand, shattered shards skittered off her aura, and though the mercury flinched behind her, Cinder let them squirm. It made her feel powerful. Irritated, she snatched the bottle of wine off the table, placed it on her lips, and necked the damn thing, chugging it outright. If either of her minions had anything to say about her sudden lapse in decorum, neither bothered a word. Just as well that, because her thoughts were already turning inwards, she had not thought much of the blonde buffoon at first. Indeed, she had dismissed him outright. Coincidences were known to happen, and while he'd proven himself a somewhat skilled combatant in spars before, she hadn't thought him the sort to meddle in affairs that were clearly beyond his kin. Until now, thanks to him, they'd been taken captive, Roman and Neil both, and with the capture, all her plans stood on knife's edge. Not to Ironwood's flagship as planned. Oh no, not by Good Witch herself. They'd be spirited away to a cell somewhere, likely under Osmond's watchful eye. Watchful eye, one even she couldn't find. There was no record of them, either of them on the prisoners' rolls, despite their arrest. It was as if they'd vanished off the face of Remnant. The thought chilled the flame within her. Worse, it didn't make a lick of sense. Osmond had never been the sort to involve himself directly in such fateful affairs. Why now? He'd come down on those two like the brother gods themselves. Did he care about his precious students that much? What was she missing? Doubtless the headmaster would be personally interrogating Roman and Neil even now. Would they crack him? Would they sing for their supper? She wanted to say no, but she knew well the loyalty of criminals. Neither Neil nor Roman were loyal to her. They outright refused to serve her at first, until she'd beaten them into submission. Osmond was stronger than her for now. Without the maiden's powers that were hers by right, and she could see him wheedling a deal out of them and giving him. Roman didn't know all of her plans, of course. No one did, but he knew enough to be a nuisance. She took her lower lips between her teeth and worried idly. It might be time to speed up their timeline. How incredibly vexing. This all began and ended with Arca. He had become more than annoying. He was a nuisance, a problem to be eliminated. So yes, John Arca had to be annoying. Had become an annoyance. Cinder, what should we do if he's nothing? She flicked a glance Emerald's way. He'd killed you if it came to a fight. She'd seen the footage on the dock, so whatever semblance he had, it was a versatile one and destructive. Mercury scoffed, ignorant to the danger as always. The fool. That kid, he's an idiot, and no way would he stand a chance against. Her eyes flashed. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Cinder tuttered and began to plan. She must attend to the matter herself. Perhaps an accident during a spar. Yes, that sounds promising. The fool liked to fight, did he not? None must endanger her prize. No one. She wouldn't allow it. The fall maiden was hers. Was here. She had to be. She must be. The power would be hers this time. But where the devil was she? Previous, we match. Come again. The trick of yours. Young waved her right arm. When your hair gets all glowy, it's kind of like mine. Her pride bristled a little. It is not. It's so. Arc, the gods of destruction. He'd take anyone over. Oh dear, Weiss didn't sound happy. She didn't look happy either, judging by the beeline she was making towards him. Our rematch begins now. And John stifled a jaw-popping yawn behind his hand. Can we do this later? It's too early. Her face did look kind of pretty when she got all red like that. Weiss jumped him. Cinder palmed her face with a sigh. Foolish brother, he really has no idea. Still, someone needed to protect him, both his body and his heart. Her victim moaned underfoot, not groaned. There was a very important distinction, she felt. Pleasure could motivate as well as pleasure could motivate as well as pain. Oh my, I forgot about you. She hit him with another pulse shocker in the back, drawing a fresh convulsion from them. Now where were we? Oh yes, you were telling me about your lovely organization and a rather annoying woman. I'll talk. Her victim babbled. Just don't stop, please. I'd like you to meet Amber. The girl glared at him from her bed. He looks weak. You're right, Cardin, he growled, hoisting them upright. You're not a man. You're a pig. Now let me hear you squeal. Pyrrha closed the door behind her and blocked it with her body. Locked it now, for good measure. Can we talk? Jaune totally said. Are we doing that right now? She squirmed a little in place. Alone? Red and Nora exchanged a long, lingering look, made a noise reminiscent of wedding bells. Jaune felt his face flashing with fire. Even he wasn't that dense. Yes, sir. End of chapter 18.